It's the Super Dungeon Brothers Super Show with Dungeon Dan and DM Steve. And we're live. We're
Are
going to
you
try
sure?
this again one more time. Yes, I do have audio.
Yeah, I
We're
can hear you.
back. Everybody can hear me. I can hear me. I hope I'm not too loud.
Nah, it
Uh,
didn't sound it.
Overcompensating. Hello, my name is DM Steve, and this is Dungeon Dan, and we're the Dicks in the Dark. And hit like for good audio and streams that you can hear everyone because
Yeah,
we had some
that, that was
problems.
that wasn't it last time.
That was not it last time, but we're back. We can
Mhm.
hear, you can hear, so hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. Thank you to all our new subscribers. Don't forget to ring the bell so that you don't miss any of our cool Dungeons and Dragons or other tabletop role playing games that we play here because that is what we do. Make sure to leave a comment and share the stream and all this stuff. Don't share that other one. That's
No,
gone. Poo
no.
poo on that. Forget that one.
Hey, speaking of uh, other games, Country Fried is in the chat.
Ah, yes, I see. Hello, sir. Country Fried Minis, a friend of the channel. If you are a fan of the painting of little miniatures, sometimes spicy little miniatures, so definitely go over there and check that out if you like spiciness. There's a
I
lot of
really,
spiciness.
I really thought you were about to say, if you like the painting of little men.
Well, I mean, in fact, if you like the
Well,
painting of little men, the painting of little ladies, the painting of little all kinds of people, robots and
yep.
mecha and all sorts of things, then definitely check out our friend Country Fried Minis. I appear over there on the TTRPG Tuesdays. We are playing Mothership, and your super chats count as statements from the DM, which makes things wild. My character is currently a Crank Yankers style puppet in that game. I'm
Hmm.
hoping to die soon so that I can uh, fix that and respawn. But who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Um, anyway, we're
Yeah.
here
Are
on
we?
the couch. That's
Hmm.
correct. Howdy, everyone. Howdy, Country Fried Minis. And anybody else that might be here. What are we going to
Yeah.
talk about today, Dan?
Well, I guess we're just going to talk about
Random
this and that
stuff?
random stuff, but you do have a video. I can see it, but nobody else can see it. You do have a video pulled.
I'm not going to get to that until you know,
Later on.
ease into things here, right?
All
You
right.
know, ease
Uh,
into things.
that's the Dick's ways that you got to ease
Hmm.
into it.
Absolutely,
You just
absolutely.
can't like thrust yourself in there.
Of
That
course.
doesn't that doesn't work all the time.
That does not work. I mean, it usually doesn't. Usually,
No.
you gotta finesse the
Hmm.
things.
Yep.
Anyway, so I wanted to kind of give some updates on some of our games, right?
Hmm.
So we have our newest game, Save Hell, which is every other Saturday. That is a Planescape Castles and Crusades game. And it is fun. It is exciting. It is a
It's
bunch
a
of
lot.
guys sitting around
Yeah.
playing D&D basically. But
It's a lot different than the normal games that we play on Wednesday nights.
it
So
is. It is. It's a little bit more serious, a little bit more focused. So if that's kind of your thing, then maybe check that out. And that we have been we have been doing ahead of time. We've been pre-recording ahead of time, and we're way ahead. So you don't have to really worry about the fact that, if somebody misses a session or whatever. We just recorded sessions 4 and 5, and here are probably within the next few weeks getting ready to record session or
6 and 7.
episode, yeah, 6 and 7.
Yeah. Hmm.
And basically episode 3 comes out next week, so we're
Yeah.
like way ahead. uh so don't worry about that. We're gonna be consistent on that. um as far as our live game on Wednesdays, we know that Up and Away is not going to be back this coming Wednesday
Hmm.
because some people are skiing. Cameron is skiing, and well, we found out Harrow is skiing as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're going to be out there skiing. We're
You
not
know
going to
what?
do
You know what we ought to do? We ought to role play skiing on Wednesday so that we can kind of be there with them.
no.
I don't know.
I no, no, I'd rather not do
Nah,
that.
nah.
Unless you want to run the ski game, Dan,
Yeah.
but
Actually, it's too bad we couldn't get an emulator. You might have an emulator, and we could actually play skiing on the Atari on on the stream. That would be great.
right. So you'll have to do that live, actually.
Hmm.
We get
Yeah, we would.
together. When we get together, yes. I mean, there's a Commodore game, a new Commodore 64 game called Yeti Mountain that
Oh
is
yeah,
skiing and Bigfoot hunting, I think.
that's
But I
excellent.
haven't gotten a chance to check it out. But it looks really cool. Big
Mm.
Commodore 64 nerd. So anyway, because and Away is not going to be, we're not going to be playing this Wednesday. Mega Dungeon
Yeah.
is gonna be what we're doing, I think. And so that is highly anticipated return of Mega Dungeon. That is our BX Dungeons and Dragons game. So very old school, this version. And it's theater of the mind, kick down the door, kill the monster, get the loot, all that stuff. Repeat, rinse, more violence, more
Yeah.
exciting stuff. Um, and I had an idea, Dan.
Oh yeah.
Uh, Possibly, maybe inviting a guest.
Who?
Well, I don't know if Country Fried Minis is still in chat or not, or if maybe anybody from the Country Fried Minis community is still in chat. But there are two. He is.
He is present.
Hello,
Yep.
present and accounted for. So I don't know if you're free or if anybody else over there is free, but there are two NPC hirelings that if somebody wants to take those hirelings off my hand, one or the other or both, that might be fun because Mega Dungeon is an easy game to kind of get into because it's really just
Hmm.
killing monsters, collecting
Yeah.
treasure. There's almost nothing to it. And so, and the characters are, you can give them any personality that you want because they're NPC hirelings. They only showed up last session. One is a magic user named Chris Copperfield, and
Yes.
he's supposed to be like a very like, you know, Chris
Hmm.
Angel, David Copperfield, like classic magician,
Hmm.
kind of weird, but kind of like sexy weird. Um, oh, and the other one is a thief, Roland Biggs, who's very small, not a halfling, but very small, and standard thief.
Mm-hmm.
possibly a height complex, but easy to play. You could drop right in. Fried Minis says sounds promising. Uh, Definitely down to run it around the community. So yeah, if any of the guys on the TTRPG Tuesdays maybe wants to pop in on Wednesday, so the day after, because this coming week will be the week for TTRPG Tuesdays.
Mm-hmm.
This Wednesday, they could come play Mega Dungeon with us. So I'll go ahead and go over there and see if I can't round up somebody, and we appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
Might be fun to have, since we know in advance. Usually with Mega Dungeon, a lot of times we don't know until like the day of, and we're
Yeah. Or
scrambling
or 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 even the hour of.
the hour of,
Yeah.
we're scrambling. So since we kind of know, I think that'd be really fun to do. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely something that definitely something that we'll try. We'll
Yeah.
see. And
Mm-hmm.
if not, that's okay. I'll continue to play the hirelings, and you and Garrett can,
Yep.
beat down doors and trash
Yeah. Do
monsters and
do all the things.
all the things that classic D&D is
Well, well,
known for.
I think the last 4 or 5 games, it's for that has just been Garrett and I.
Right.
It
Right, because
because
we've been kind of low on players anyway,
mm-hmm.
just because of circumstances. So we're
Mm-hmm.
down a few. So we're down even more. It's really Mega Dungeon,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but I thought about that before because again, that's the whole point of Mega Dungeon is that to be able to kind of drop in and drop out. And anybody can kind of drop in and drop out. I mean, in fact, if somebody really wanted to get crazy, they could make a whole Mega Dungeon character, but
Oh
they'd
yeah.
have to get with me definitely ahead of time. So
Yeah.
that's another option. Anybody that's possibly listening and is
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't want to play an NPC. I just like want to make a Dungeons and Dragons character. Again, old school Dungeons and Dragons character.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might be able to accommodate that. So
Might
you
be
know,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah,
Might be very interesting.
it might be. It might be. So that's an
Mm-hmm.
option.
Yeah.
Now, there was something else I wanted to talk about, Dan.
Oh yeah. What's that?
Well, that is this year
Yes.
is technically the 30th anniversary of our gaming group.
This is true.
That is, it's really going to be in like the fall,
Mm-hmm.
right? But 30 years ago, I was playing with a bunch of friends, but we didn't have a group. And Dan was not playing at all.
No, I was not.
Dan
I
was
was
in his
I was
20s.
I was working out of town actually.
You were working out of town, but you were also in your 20s, so you were like in the
Mm-hmm.
throes. I think you were about 26 at the time, right?
Yes. Yes, I was.
So
About that.
you were in the throes of bardom,
Yep.
the going out.
No, no, I wasn't a bard. I
Actually,
was
I
go
was a bard if it, at the time when it comes down to
I wasn't a bard. I was going to bars.
you were going to bars. I was the bard. I was the one playing music at the time. Anyway, um our dad had just passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 18 and I was like I had always wanted a group. like a regular group, because you read about it in like Dragon Magazine or
Hmm.
whatever. You know people that have groups, regular, but we never had like a regular group. We always just kind of got together whenever, and I wanted to have a regular group. I felt like that was the time because I wanted to kind of like coalesce people. I was feeling a certain way because dad had just passed away. I just graduated. So I was like, I'm newly 18. I'm like worried about like, you know, becoming an adult and all this stuff,
Yeah.
right? So I get all the guys together and right? You
Hmm.
hadn't played Dungeons and Dragons in like probably
Like
over
5 years,
a
probably
while in that at that
like
point.
6 or 7 years. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it had been a good bit of time. And so I was like, you got to play. And we got everybody together. JT was there, of course. Um,
And JT's the only other surviving member of the group.
right, right, right. Now, obviously,
Everybody else is still alive, as
we
far as
we
we know.
slaughtered them all. You leave the group, you leave life. Nah.
As far as we know, everybody else is still is what but what I mean is the only people who are still actively
Mhm.
playing today
Right,
in our
right.
group.
And
And
obviously,
even Jay is like tenuous at sometimes.
right, right. And obviously, the three younger guys are did did weren't alive 30 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, that that was a thing. But that was the beginning, and we have pretty much played regularly either every week or every other week for 30 years with only very, very few little kind of hiatuses or breaks.
Right.
And it has, kind of been the same group. There's a continuity.
Hmm.
Um, when we started the online thing, obviously we needed a name, right?
Right.
So we weren't calling ourselves Dicks in the Dark 30 years ago or even
W-
15 years ago. That
We
would have
weren't
been
even
kind of weird.
we weren't even calling ourselves anything.
No, I mean, we were
We didn't have a
just
name. We were
right.
just
Yeah,
a
we were
group.
just our group. And at some points I always thought, we never did the convention thing. I always thought like if we went to a convention, we needed a group name, but we never, we just always played in our living rooms and stuff. We never
Yeah.
we never did the convention thing, at least not the gaming convention thing. We did the comic convention thing and the anime
Hmm.
convention thing,
Yeah.
but never the gaming convention thing. Something I still want to do at some point. But anyway, when we started to get together online, I thought about, I was thinking about YouTube and why, because this is going to lead into that video that we were talking about a little bit. There's going to be a cool segue here. Excuse me. So I was thinking about YouTube because we've been doing this for 30 years, but we've only been playing online for what, like 5 years maybe,
Something like that.
and
Yeah.
then we've only really been on YouTube or online, like publicly on Twitch or YouTube for like what, two and a half maybe,
Two and a half, 3 years. Yeah.
something like that, right? We're fairly new, and I was thinking about it, and when we played before, all along, obviously when we first started, I was 18, so we played at mom's house, right?
Right.
And we initially played at the house that I grew up in, the little house. And then
Hmm.
mom moved and we had the big house. Well, when we were in the bigger house, people would just kind of come over. It was
Yeah.
like the hangout.
Hmm.
And that kind of continued. no matter where we were playing, we always had, whether it was mom's house, whether it was a bunch of our friends had a house together. Eventually, we all had a house together. You and I, our divorces kind of matched up
Yeah.
kind of
Mhm.
perfectly. So like we
Yeah.
had a house together with Harrow and another friend for a
Mhm.
while, right?
Right.
And always those houses were like a place where not only did we have our regular game, but people would just drop in.
It
So
was.
we would
Yes.
play, you know, a regular game of Dungeons and Dragons, but then we would also have other tabletop games, including just like
Whatever. Yeah.
whatever, like Risk or you know, eh,
Gloom.
yeah,
We had. Yeah.
anything, any kind of tabletop games that we
Mhm.
were playing, and people would kind of drop in, or sometimes people would even drop in on our Dungeons and Dragons game, and I think that's why I wanted to be on like YouTube or Twitch is where we started. We kind of found a better home on YouTube, I think, than Twitch, but uh, I wanted the house where people could drop
Mhm.
in a sense, if that makes right.
Right.
Because
Right.
like if we're just kind of playing in a closed system, how we were for a little bit before we went on YouTube, before we went on Twitch, it's I don't know, it's kind of not the same, right? It's kind
Right.
of not the same as what we've always done. Where there's distance that separates us, a lot of us now. And so we kind of have to play online, right?
Yes.
We can't be in the same place. But if we can kind of be in the same place, we can kind of virtually be in the same place, and our friends and whoever can kind of virtually join us through YouTube, right?
Mhm.
And that was kind of the idea. So that was really my main focus. Also, I really kind of wanted a record because we always tell the stories about our games, and obviously you have like I have my notes and everything.
Mhm.
But as time goes by and memories fade,
Oh yeah.
that stuff that we did 30 years ago,
Woo.
some of it's
Wow.
pretty fuzzy.
Mhm.
And I thought, man, it would be cool if we had like a record of it, like a recording of us playing. So now we have a record and everybody can come and watch us. So we have a house, we have a
Yep.
record, we have all the things, and that's kind of what's important to me. Obviously, as far as like the YouTube side of it,
Mhm.
and then the most important thing to me, of course, is the game, and the fact that we're playing and having fun and all that stuff.
Cool. Yeah.
And yeah, and I think that kind of it that perfectly segues from inviting guests onto the channel, which we had
Right.
just done, and then talking about the next subject that we were going to talk about.
Right.
And that is this thing that Dan brought to my attention, um, that I guess is somewhat relevant to us. And Dan, you found this video. See, I'm not familiar or wasn't previously familiar with this channel here. Um, but this is Dungeons and Discourse, right?
Dungeons of Discourse. Yeah.
Dungeons
That's her.
and Discourse, right?
Mhm. That's her channel.
Okay. And
I've seen maybe 4 or 5 of her of her videos.
mhm,
I'm not subscribed. I don't watch regularly, but you know, she pops up in the feed every now and again because you
because
know
of just D&D stuff,
D
right?
and D stuff. Right. Right.
Right, right, right. Of course, of course. So this video here is about, obviously you can see the title, the D&D content creator scandal, gets worse. Now that's a really clickbaity title. Um, but essentially, as far as I can tell, what the what I watched the video, and what the video is talking about is the fact that um they're saying that Dungeons and Dragons focused channels are losing subscribers, losing views,
Hmm.
and that essentially the idea of the video is that D&D YouTube is dying.
Right, right. D&D.
Doom and
Hmm.
gloom.
Right.
D&D YouTube is dying. D&D YouTubers are abandoning D&D YouTube for other YouTube things.
Hmm.
Um,
Or just abandoning it altogether.
or abandoning it altogether, I suppose, or cutting back on
Hmm.
their content. Like they were full time, you could consider full time, but then
Hmm.
cutting back. Um, and yeah, what do you think, Dan? Before we, you know,
Well, obviously content creator scandal caught my attention, and I was like, oh, I got to watch this.
yeah, D&D content creators
Right,
specifically.
right.
It's
D and
not
D
like
con. Hmm.
we're not worried about makeup content
Hmm.
creators here on this channel.
No, no, that's
Um,
totally what we're about,
yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah. If it has to do with Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop RPGs, or maybe drawing peens,
Hmm.
then it's relevant to this
Yeah,
channel. Otherwise,
but yeah.
probably not.
So I watched it again, or I watched it. I only watched the video once,
Hmm.
right before I sent it to you.
Okay.
Uh, but it seems like she's focusing more on those content creators who are not playing.
Hmm.
They don't have online games. There's one that she specifically mentions in the video that did have an online game, but I think that's a different kind of thing, and I'll get into that here in a second. But a lot of the content creators I think that she's talking about are people who are like, hey, these 10 hot tricks to, you know, to spice up your game.
Right, right,
It's
right, 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 right.
those kind of content creators, and I'll just throw one out there, like Ginny D. I think. Do you know who Ginny D is?
I mean, yeah. I mean, not. I yeah. I,
You you've heard of her, I'm
it's
sure.
yes, yes. I mean,
Okay.
I know who these people are
Hmm. But you don't watch them.
basically, but I don't like watch any of
Hmm.
their content.
Hmm.
So I
But
guess.
right, so the one channel that she did mention that had a game,
Hmm.
a and I'm gonna do this in air quotes, a game is a channel that I actually watched called
Hmm.
Man Shorts.
Hmm.
And Man Shorts, they did weekly games, but it was very obvious that they were scripted, full on scripted games. They they it was full on. It was written. It was scripted out. It was edited. Um, I don't even think that all four of the people were in the room at the same time when they were filming. It was very, yeah.
Interesting.
And it was, yeah, and that was a it was a comedy style script. Like every one of their videos was a funny D&D game. Like they had Florida Man edition, or
Right, 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 right,
things like that.
right, right,
So,
right, 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 right.
and they did recently just shut their they didn't turn off their videos, but they stopped making content because they just could not keep up.
Right, right, right. Well, let's I guess maybe we're gonna watch a little bit of the video just for a minute. Hopefully
It,
this
yeah.
creator doesn't strike us or anything crazy like that. But let's see
So it has
what we
been
got
a
here.
crazy month for D&D content creators online. A lot has been happening. And let me tell
Looks
you,
like we got
it
audio
hasn't
here.
all been good. Because first we found out that massive Dungeons & Dragons YouTubers and content creators are being forced to quit covering Dungeons & Dragons on YouTube because their channels are being killed. That's the involuntary kind of killed. And these aren't small YouTube channels either. These are some of the biggest D&D content creators
Oh my
around. Like, for
goodness.
example, How to Be a Great GM, who has been an institution on the platform for years. And if that wasn't bad enough, things then got even worse,
Even
because
worse.
terrifying new data has just emerged about Dungeons and Dragons specifically, showing that potentially no matter how big they are, D&D content online seems to be dying overall. And if this trend
So dying overall. So this is
Right.
hmm obviously this is YouTube. Yes, Country Fried Minis, thank you very much. Fair use is transformative, and we are transforming this content for sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Um, but we saw some of those creators, and like you said, most of those creators, they're not playing games. It's
Right.
people talking about rules and stuff. But one of the things that the video goes into a little bit is that there were a bunch of channels that got propped up by the OGL scandal, right? Because that
Yeah.
was like great big news.
Yeah.
And I think that even before that, I mean, there was kind of a rise in Dungeons and Dragons that
Yeah. There was
coincided,
the movie and all that stuff, and
but I think that coincided even before that with just the rise in popularity of geek culture,
hmm
right? Like nerdy things are cool,
right.
essentially. Right? That started what, like 20 years ago, and
It did.
has kind of been
I
on.
I'll tell you what probably really ramped it up was 2020.
No, but again, it's been
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
on the rise for a while, I think, because I mean, and when I say on the rise, I mean from the time when we were playing, when it was like normies like didn't even understand what Dungeons and Dragons was, and most people were still afraid of it.
Right.
To now, where even the most normie person kind of has a grasp of like what it is, and is just like, oh, okay, you play,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. So it's like it's a very different thing. Even normies are kind of interested in Dungeons and Dragons now because again, it's this fun geek thing that like, oh, I didn't know about it,
Right.
or it's whatever. So I think that coupled with, you know, more people being online, like you said, 2020, there's lockdowns, there's more people online, then there's the OGL scandal. It's this big thing because everybody's mad at Wizards of the Coast because the OGL was important, obviously, for people making their own games and having it be compatible with like popular systems,
Right.
right? So it was just gonna like collapse the industry if they were able to do what it seemed like they wanted to do. So it was big news. But here's what I'm thinking. If you're doing news, you always have to, you always have to feed the machine,
You do. Absolutely.
right? So there's after the OGL scandal, there's got to be some new scandal. There's got to be something, and you've got to continuously try and ramp that up. So
hmm
obviously, like we talked about the online gambling, but
hmm
nothing has since the OG, like nothing has been that big.
No, it hasn't.
And so if that's the kind of content that you're doing and that's how you got super popular on YouTube, then yeah, yeah, that's
hmm
that's going to be tough. Um you could kind of compare it to when the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial was going
Right.
on, Mrs. DM Steve was very interested in the trial.
Right.
And a lot of YouTubers were streaming the trial, talking
Covering the
about the
yeah. They're
trial,
they're
covering the
covering the
trial like
Mhm.
super heavily.
Right.
And a bunch of people like blew up and got just mad big on Amber Turd and Johnny
Right.
Depp's effed up finger and
Right.
all the
The whole
craziness.
thing. Yeah. Hmm.
But then afterwards, like those channels, then a lot of them suffered because they put all their eggs in that one basket, and then there wasn't like a next thing,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
There's got to be the next thing. And so I think that's the issue with a lot of this, what she's talking about here. Let's listen a little bit more.
Keeps up, by 2026, there could be no more D&D content online ever. So say goodbye
Ever.
to Matt Mercer, Matt Colville, Ginny D, Professor DM, Dungeon Dudes, Pointy Hat, and more. Because they're all being sent to that farm that Aunt Clarice went to in '06. Remember that? Remember the farm? Well, she never went to a farm, kid. She was flushed down the toilet. Still, I'm just glad that I'm not a Dungeons & Dragons content creator. Would sure suck to be one of those guys right now.
Womp
Ah,
womp.
shit. Okay, so what the hell is going on? Well, personally, I have a big investment in this topic for obvious reasons, so I've been looking into it, and it's not looking great. So firstly, it's important to note that this scandal isn't just a few D&D YouTubers and content creators deciding to retire because they have made millions of dollars on the back of doing a top 5 D&D races video
Like
that
us,
went
right?
super
Oh,
viral.
yeah.
Which, by the way, totally irrelevant video, no need to make it, everyone knows bitches want gnomes. Can't keep away from the Rumpelstiltskinks. No, instead it's that many great YouTubers who cover or covered D&D, people that have in some cases got hundreds of thousands of followers, have been forced to quit making D&D
Forced to
content
quit.
online because YouTube has simply stopped showing their content to new people and their existing audience has dwindled away to nothing. We're talking about channels with upwards of 200,000 subscribers getting views of only a couple thousand or even just 100 or so in some cases, which, to be real, is not a lot on YouTube. It's just not sustainable, and it's making me very nervous about my comparably lesser
100,000 views is not sustainable, Dan. Or whatever. What was the what was
Well, no, she said a couple thousand
a
views.
couple thousand views.
A couple thousand views on channels that have 100,000 or more subscribers.
Yeah. Couple thousand views. Um yeah, I mean, I guess
And Country Fried is saying one tenth of 1% or one like a very small number per click.
$0.001.
Yeah,
So
like
like a tenth of a penny or something like that.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Per click.
Hmm.
Um
If you're monetized.
if you're monetized, obviously. I mean, that's what we're talking about here.
Hmm.
If you're not monetized, it's not that really that big of a deal.
Right.
Unless you're trying to get monetized like we are. But then again, we are growing
Hmm.
slowly. We're a little channel, obviously little, but I think, again, what we were talking about before, I think that we are growing, and hopefully, fingers crossed, will continue to grow because our content is like evergreen.
Right.
Meaning that when I say I kind of hate the word content in a way because it like sounds so YouTubey and sterile and like
Yeah.
kind of weird, and I don't want to I don't know. You know, I don't know.
Right.
But it's our games. Like we have
Hmm.
games, and our games are evergreen because you can always go back to the beginning and watch the game from the beginning, right?
Right. Mhm.
Like Save Hell. We specifically have these character intros. There's the first episode. It's on a playlist. Check it out. Um, and you'll always be able to go back to see it. Episode 1 of Save Hell in 10 years will be just as good as it was when it was released,
Right.
right?
Because it yeah, I see what you're saying. Basically, it's like binging a TV show that you like because, you really can't go back and binge news from 10 years ago.
Right, right,
That
right.
does- that doesn't work.
It, I mean, you
You could
could,
you could if you wanted to get an idea of what happened 10 years ago.
right,
But
but you
but
wouldn't do it necessarily for entertainment.
no, no.
No.
I'm I'm not going to go back and watch 2020 from 1992. I
Right,
don't need
right, right.
I don't want to do that, right?
Maybe even 2020 is a bad example. You wouldn't go back and watch
Like
Crossfire,
no.
right? Which was a
Absolutely not.
political show
Mhm.
where there were like two conservatives and two liberals, and they would like
Mhm.
debate. And it was like these four old men, and it was some show in the 80s that our
Yeah.
parents watched.
Yes.
You would never go back and watch that. Excuse me. Unless there was some like
Unless you were a political science major and that was what you were focused on and you were writing some kind of dissertation about something that happened way back.
right, right. Or there was some specific thing in like an episode that was just really important for, something that you were researching, whatever, something.
Right.
But yeah, you wouldn't go back and do that. Like you would go back and watch, I don't know, you might go back and
Star Trek, the original series.
right, discover Star Trek. You might discover, Briscoe County Jr.,
Mhm.
an early
Right.
Bruce Campbell show that you never realized existed, and you might go
Yep.
back and watch that. And that's still going to be great 20 years from now, 30, 100 years
Mhm.
from now. That's still going to be pretty cool. You can watch it, and it's going to be something that you can watch the whole series, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Um,
See,
and
we're not going to be able to do that in 20 years. Our AI or overlords are not going to allow
right,
us to
right,
do
right,
that.
right. Definitely
That
not.
our programming is going to our content is going to be programmed in 20
Right,
years.
right.
Mhm.
Even Country Fried Minis, his channel is about painting. There's a like a tutorial sort of a thing. There's you can see that miniature. You can watch that. You can watch those techniques and things over again and go back to that. If there's a popular video, if there's a popular model or something, people can go back to that model and watch that paint video, right?
Right.
You can always see that. Um, Now there's some talk about the rules in this video. People kind of talking about rules. I think that's maybe a little bit better. Um, but I think the problem is maybe the there's no excitement about the new edition because it's not a new edition.
Right.
So I kind of think that the new edition of Dungeons and Dragons, because it's not sixth edition, and they're not like rolling it out like sixth edition, you know what I mean? Like every edition, there's kind of been a hype for it. And I think when they kind of announced, I don't even really know what it's called, D&D Forever, just like
Yeah.
it's just
Something.
D&D, right? They're just like, okay, no additions, it's just D&D. So when you kind of roll into those new books, it's like there's not excitement.
Hmm.
I think
Well, Hasbro is also just kind of shot themselves in the foot with this as well because they have bad blood in the community. They just do.
right, right. Like we talked about the
Hmm.
OGL thing. There's some other things.
Hmm.
Um, but specifically, well, like obviously we're talking about YouTubers and D&D YouTube. So specifically, I think that because there's no hype for the new edition, it's like kind of hard to, like
Hard to
people,
build it.
it's hard to for people to get excited
Hmm.
because it's again like it's not 6th edition. It's not like mandatory, which
Right.
is what every other it was kind of like if you wanted to continue to play modern D&D when 4th edition came along, well then it was kind of mandatory to go out and buy the 4th edition player's handbook and for your
Right.
dungeon master to go buy the 4th edition Dungeon Master's Guide, and for 4th edition they hooked people in with that initial D&D online where they had like the character compendium, so people were subscribing to that. It was a whole thing, and it was like you had to do it if you wanted to stay in the loop and continue to like use their new products, right?
Right.
And you don't have to. Like you don't have like I
Right.
guess that's kind of the idea
Yeah.
is that you don't have to get the new
Well,
Dungeon
you're.
Master's Guide or the newest Player's
Yeah.
Handbook necessarily because it's compatible all the way through, so you can
Hmm.
kind of keep using your old stuff. And eventually, if you want to upgrade, you can. Or maybe like, a couple years down the line, they'll have another upgrade and some more new
Right.
books, and maybe then you'll buy
Hmm.
into it because books are expensive, and maybe you won't even at all because they have this online thing now, and obviously that's where they're kind of putting their focus. So, I think they need to make the books to continue to kind of feed the content for the online and
Right.
to kind of appease like a base level, but I, kind of taking that focus away from the core books and like the rules and that sort of thing, I think makes for no excitement. I think it just kind of
Hmm.
people are like
Well, how much excitement was around these last couple editions anyway? That's the
a
thing.
lot. Like
People,
fifth edition
people.
had like a ton of excitement. In fact, I mean fifth edition was like a big kind of improvement from fourth because people
Hmm.
fourth edition people felt like it was the World of Warcraftization of D&D.
Hmm.
Very, very much so. And there were a lot of people that were kind of like, can we go back? We don't want to rewind all the way back to the beginning, but a lot of people kind of wanted to rewind back to like third edition
Hmm.
because Pathfinder was essentially a third edition clone it started
Right.
out really
Hmm.
as, and it was a serious competitor
Right.
for Dungeons and Dragons when fourth edition. And that like really D&D kind of took back the crown with fifth edition. It did, the popularity shot up for sure.
Okay.
Big, big, big. Just because we're not I mean, I'm not a big fan of 5th edition, but I'm
Right.
not going to sit here and say, "Oh, it wasn't popular." No, it was extremely popular.
Ah.
Very,
Okay.
very popular. So, yeah, yeah, I mean that, there has been a big rise recently with Dungeons and Dragons. But again, there's no hype because it's not a new edition. That's my theory as far
Okay.
as along with scandals, bad blood in the community.
Hmm.
Um, that's what I think is happening. Let's listen a little bit more.
50,000 subscribers. So, please subscribe. I don't want to be flushed like Aunt Clarice. I've been down the sewers. It's not pleasant down there. Now,
Sure,
this
go
topic
subscribe
really
to
first kicked off when Guy from How to Be a
Dungeons and
Great
Discourse.
GM published his vinyl video on his D&D YouTube channel this month. And in it, he claimed that YouTube themselves told him that his channel covering D&D Dungeon Master advice is basically dead in the water and that he needs to find a whole new niche if he wants to make a living on the YouTube platform, which honestly is kind of weird for them to say. In fact, I didn't even know that there was a person at YouTube that you could speak to. I thought
Hmm.
it was bots all the way down, like my local supermarket. They
So she was just talking about a guy that does like rules and that sort of thing. Um, and how channels dying. Um, I kind of wonder if we're not at like a saturation point for Dungeons and Dragons.
It could be.
Like new school Dungeons and Dragons or just Dungeons and Dragons like at all. Because
Right.
again, we talked about there's this rise. Um I I, I wonder like are there any more people that are kind of getting into the hobby new, or has that kind of slowed down? And
How and the other thing is how many creators can make these same types of videos over and over and over again?
right, right, because
And how many people, they're not copying each other, but how many people are having the same idea and putting that same idea out week after week?
right. And how many new DMs need to hear that information once
Mhm.
you've kind of heard it, right? Like
Mhm.
okay, I went on and I got these tips and that sort of thing. Okay, I'm good to go. Now I'm running my own games. Um Maybe you're less and less likely to go on and look for like how to type stuff or
Right.
new rule type stuff when once you start doing it yourself, right?
Right.
And you're like, okay, well, I got it now, right?
Yeah.
I also
Yeah.
wonder how many people started playing during the lockdown and stopped because they had to like go back to work and like
Right.
schedules got crazy
Mhm.
and stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Because there's definitely people that were just kind of didn't have anything to do.
Did Yeah, they weren't doing anything.
Weren't
They
doing
oh
much at
live
all. Like weren't allowed to
hey,
do anything, so you were
let's
kind of stuck. And people got
yeah, let's
online and they were like, "Oh, hey, this
let's
is the thing that passes time and
yeah.
it's pretty fun and I can go and do this."
Mhm.
For a while, I mean, there was even for a while there were a bunch of people. I even talked about it for like just a second until I started to think about the logistics of it, and then I was like, a lot of people were talking about professional dungeon mastering.
Yeah, I remember
Like,
you
oh, I'm
talking
gonna
about that.
like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna charge people what, $25 an hour or whatever,
Yeah,
like to
yeah.
run like a Dungeons and Dragons game, and people were doing that. And I kind of think maybe that's, not as lucrative of a market as it
Right.
was,
That's a side hustle at this point, if anything.
if anything. And, it's maybe some people, especially if you don't have a dungeon master, and it's prepping for a game it's a lot, right? If you low on time, but I have a feeling that like once you realize you can kind of do it on your own,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
like you're probably not gonna pay somebody to do it, and you're like, yeah, I can do
I
that.
could do this.
I
Yeah.
can do that. Yeah. So things like that, and I mean, that's my thought on the other side of it is that why things might be kind of on a downturn for some channels. And also like YouTube is just weird. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't really understand YouTube. Honestly. I don't know that anybody really does. But
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, what do you
Their
think?
algorithms are very weird, so I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Um well, let's listen to just a little bit more. See
They
what
can
we
pretend to be real all they want, but I know they're not. I don't care what the doctor says. But according to Guy, YouTube told him that his channel was basically doomed. D&D Dungeon Master advice? Get the heck out of here. You have to do Willy Wonka 24/7 streams. I don't know what's big on YouTube. So he has taken their advice and he has quit making his DM advice YouTube channel and started up a channel covering Star Trek instead. But Guy isn't the first.
So that's what I was talking about when I said like somebody who like that's a YouTuber right there, right?
Yes. Mhm.
That's somebody who is like they're in it for YouTube,
They're in it for that. That's their full-time job.
Not just that, but like they're in it for YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like I get, yes, that's their job, but also like they're in it for YouTube. Like if that guy was in it for D&D, he wouldn't have stopped. I mean, like maybe he would make a Star Trek channel to like keep his living,
Right.
but he wouldn't have just stopped his D&D channel. Like if he was really like super passionate,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is just my opinion as somebody who's
Right.
super passionate about D&D and who doesn't get paid to be on this channel.
Right.
I think that you would continue to do it if you were super passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's more important for that guy to be a YouTuber than
Right.
to
Right. Mm-hmm.
do Dungeons and Dragons YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that I think kind of leads me into my final thing about why sometimes I think channels maybe have channels like she's talking about, and maybe even that channel right there is, and I don't want to seem like a jerk, but there's like a YouTube performance that you do. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like like the jokes in this video that we're watching right here are like very scripted
Those,
and
and I will tell you from seeing other videos from her, this is her format.
right. And like I'm just going to be honest, like not very funny. Like
Right.
funny in that kind of like heh, right? But not
Mm-hmm.
like ha, you know, like not like
Right.
actually funny. And it's a little, you know, I would not subscribe to this channel. And again, no offense to this person, no offense, but it's like not very authentic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like obviously like you and I, like we come on here and we do like our YouTube, like we do all like smash like, hit
Yeah.
subscribe,
Mm-hmm.
ring the bell, you kind of got to do that, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then we just talk.
Yeah.
And like there's no filter, there's no
No,
like,
there's nothing.
yes,
We
like that
we
smash button, country fried minutes,
yeah.
right?
We don't. Yeah. We don't throw Homer Simpson on the screen.
Right.
We
We're
we
not
don't.
like
We don't.
we're
We
not
don't.
we're not memeing in a
Mm-hmm.
tradition, you know, we're not it's we're not trying to be YouTubers. We're trying to have a game on YouTube,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then not that there's anything wrong with being a YouTuber, but I think that my favorite YouTubers are people that are like really authentic. Like people that you like can tell like they're like they love the thing that they're doing. And
Right.
they're 100% them, unabashedly, weird quirks and all,
Mm-hmm.
dicks, whatever, drawn dicks, wherever. I'm
Yeah.
looking at you, country fried minis. You know, um, yeah, just normal people having normal reactions. You know, playing their games, doing whatever. And I think that's, I don't know. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, you know, if you got big because you chased a big topic like OGL, you got to chase that dragon then from like
Yep.
then on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other like kind of trap of YouTube is like if you get like big in YouTube, um,
Then you got to stay big.
well, there's this thing where it's like whatever happens, like whatever kind of gets you big often becomes your like thing.
Right.
And if it's not like really the thing that you want to do, you kind of get locked into like the audience kind of demands you to do a thing. Yeah, it's YouTube, not corporate interest YouTube, says Country Fried Minis. At its
Right.
core, it was always about making your passion projects. Yes, yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so that's what I'm saying though, is that you know what I'm saying, Dan.
I know exactly what you're saying because we're in the same boat. You
Right.
know, we're not here to we have a very realistic expectation. We're not going to be 100,000 subscriber channel. We're
Right.
that's just not going to be us.
Right. Right. Right.
We're,
Right.
we're
Right.
we are at our core 4 to 6 guys on YouTube playing a game, and
Exactly.
if people want to watch, hell yeah.
Right, right. This is the house,
Yeah.
and again, to bring it back to what I was saying again before
Hmm.
about the 30th anniversary. This is a house. This is
Yep.
our house. And you're invited to come in and sometimes play games or watch us play games and
Hmm.
hang out and talk to us while we're playing games, just like our friends did 30 years ago at my mom's house when
Yep.
somebody would just kind of stop by and be like, "Oh, hey, you guys playing D&D? Cool, cool. I'm just going to hang out and like play some Dreamcast."
Yeah.
Which
Hmm.
was totally a thing that would have
It,
happened
it
back in the
happens.
day,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Where just gonna, oh man, you got some like, well, I'm just gonna sit down and play some Sega Saturn or whatever,
Hmm.
whatever it was at the time that we.
Or they just sat at the table.
Or just sat at the table and hung out, or
They
maybe it was a night where we weren't playing and we had something else to do, a
some
different
some kind of game, yeah. Some kind of game or
game, a different, whatever it was, like a
hmm
different thing, and yeah, I mean, that's why we're here. And that's why I hope, smash that like button, subscribe, that our channel will continue to like grow,
right.
because we're being authentic and
Hmm.
we're trying to, make a record of our game and just have some fun. And I think the fun translates.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean that's the thing about YouTube is you have to be entertaining.
Hmm.
You know what I
And I
mean?
think that's the thing that you can tell with us. You can tell when we're having fun.
Right.
You can also tell when one of us is having a good day and when one of us is not having a good day. You can
Right, right.
absolutely tell that that we're just being ourselves.
Right, right. And you can even tell when we kind of start out, maybe everybody's in a little bit of a funk, but
Hmm.
often the game will perk people up. And if you
Oh yeah.
watch us play, you can
Hmm.
tell that we like playing because we
On
go from
that happened on Wednesday. That happened
right,
just this last Wednesday.
right, where
We
everybody's
we were
like,
all
"Oh,
we
I'm
were all we
tired."
were all tired, and then by the time we got to the end, we were all like,
Every
"Boo!"
everybody was perked up.
Mhm.
Speaking of our friend fellow Dick's in the dark. Our Cameron is in chat. What's going on, fellas? Says Soul Adeptus, which is our Cameron. And
Hey,
hey, man, what's going on? We just decided to do a little
just
stream here.
jump in and
Hell yeah.
say what's going on.
Yeah, we
Ah,
decided to do a little stream to talk about, some of the stuff that's going on and talk about the fact that Dungeons and Dragons creators are dying on YouTube.
yeah. Mhm. But in
But
reality,
in reality, we think we're probably okay.
I think so.
I think so. I think we're
We're just
done with this video too. What do you think, Dan?
I think maybe so.
Yeah, I don't think that
I don't think we need to
that
see her anymore.
Dungeons and Discourse has anything else to show us. So
Hmm.
we'll just go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dan? Anything else going on?
I don't know. I mean, not really. I mean, it's just a normal Saturday night,
Right, right.
kind of
Well,
hanging out.
I will say this. Oh, hey, we got just woke up a little bit ago, says Cameron. Nathan in chat. Hello,
Yep.
Nathan. Paint in a bag. That's true. I do have to do
Yep.
some paint in a bag stuff. That is 100% true.
Ah,
Uh,
solo depth. We're chilling, even if other creators are dying. We're genuinely here to play D&D and have fun. Absolutely.
word.
Absolutely.
And he's gonna be having some ski fun here pretty
Yep.
soon.
He's going to be on the slopes.
On the slopes. Be safe on the slopes, you guys. Have fun
Hmm.
for us
Yep. Watch
in
out for
the
Bigfoot. You are in Colorado. Watch out
right,
for
right,
Bigfoot.
right, right, right. Don't get caught by that skunk ape.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think before we go, I think the
Hmm.
final thing would be to ask, because this is the 30th anniversary of our group
Right.
coming up in uh like in the fall.
August. Something. August,
It's
September.
probably like, I'm gonna say it was later. I think it was September maybe.
It was still warm. So,
I think
yeah,
it was
maybe
still
September.
somewhat warm, but yeah,
Hmm.
I think it was September. And
What,
so
you would have tried to get everybody back together?
no, I don't know about that. All I'm saying is, just maybe we'll do a little 30th anniversary. That's the question. What would anyone want to see for our group's 30th anniversary?
Oh man.
Anything good for that? Also,
So,
coinciding with is that we're gonna be at the 100th episode of Up and Away in 15 more episodes. So
right.
that's coming this year too. So those two things
That's happening all this year,
might
2025.
yeah,
Yep.
might kind of come together in 2025. So 30th anniversary of the gaming group that is now called Dicks in the Dark, and 100th episode coming up
Hmm.
of Up and Away. So what should we do? Anything
I,
special for the 100 episode stream? Anything special for the 30th anniversary? I, I'm gonna leave that up to viewers chat. If
hmm.
you have any ideas, obviously other dicks in the dark that might be watching, like Cameron,
Yep.
uh, and let us know what colon bees. Colon bees for our 30th anniversary
Yeah.
sounds
Hmm.
dangerous.
Hmm.
Dangerous.
Yeah. I don't know about colon bees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, one other thing that's coming up.
More space badge. Definitely more space badge. Can't have enough of that.
It
100th
didn't have
episode
it,
special.
it didn't happen this weekend again, but maybe next Friday your interview will come out.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because I was waiting because those seemed to come out on Friday, but it
Hmm.
was another it was somebody else. I
Yeah,
wonder
so
how many. You might want to message that guy and find out how many people are in front of you.
right, right, right. So if you're wondering what we're talking about, I did an interview with Johnny Omaha for Troll Lord Games. Uh and it's a behind the keeper screen about our game Save Hell, which is a Castles and Crusades game. So that's by, Castles and Crusades, created, produced by Troll Lord Games.
Yep.
Um, I was invited to do this interview with a guy named Johnny Omahal who does a lot of stuff on the Troll Lord Games YouTube channel, including this show called Behind the Keeper's Screen. And I was thinking, oh, it's like going to be out really quick. But it turns out that he must have had like a backlog of people. There
Yeah.
were people in front of me that I didn't know. So I have no idea. I was
Yeah.
thinking the same thing. I got the notification this morning as well. And I went
Mhm.
to it and I was like, that's not me.
No, that's not you.
Now I know it's happening. I've gotten the because he asked me for like, oh, do you have a picture for thumbnail?
Mhm.
And I said, probably the best thing that you could do is if you can capture a picture from the beginning of like the Save Hell, like the intro, where I'm like
Mhm.
doing the intro. And that's what he did. And he got like a satisfactory to me. I'm good with it.
Mhm.
So I approved. So there's a thumbnail. So it exists. I know he goes through and he does bookmark. He kind of
Okay.
chapter, right? So that like you can kind of
Mhm.
find, kind of go through the
Right.
conversation. And he was talking about doing some audio editing. So there's that. But hopefully that'll be up soon.
Right.
It'd be great if it was up like next Friday, like this, this coming Friday,
Right. Because
because
that's going to be our
then,
episode is coming Saturday, right?
right, because next Saturday night is episode 3 of Save Hell. So yeah, I don't know. There was another guy that had like like an anime character kind of
Yeah.
avatar.
Yeah, I saw that.
Um
Yeah.
and so I watched a little bit of that. But yeah, that I was like, oh, it's not me. I was like, when am I gonna be? I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it to launch because
Mhm.
he was like, oh, hey, if you want to record this, you can. But I wasn't really like set up for it. Uh, so I was just like, nah, I don't just go ahead, just go ahead and record. So I don't have a recording of it, but it was a really good conversation. So I want to, I want to see it back. And
Yeah.
I want everybody else to see it too because it's,
Well,
you know,
maybe if it comes out on Friday, maybe you can go ahead, maybe you can link it into the Saturday video once it
right,
comes.
right, right, right,
Yeah.
right, right, right.
That would be a good
Yeah.
idea.
Well, I'm hoping that if it comes out on Friday, that it'll generate
Oh yeah. Mhm.
a little bit of extra, buzz for the Saturday video.
Right.
Save Hell coming next Saturday, episode 3. Don't miss it.
Mhm.
Nathan says, "Are you bonking me?"
No.
I don't think so. Uh, maybe later. And then Country
Uh
Fried Minis says a little something something. Yeah, I don't know. I
yep,
don't.
maybe. There
Crossover
could be.
mini painting video. Ah, that could happen. That could happen. I was in Target the other day, Target,
Mhm.
and they had Warhammer minis.
Okay.
Like
In tar in
single,
Target?
yeah, in Target. They had like Warhammer minis in Target, like single, kind of like blind bag minis,
Huh.
but I think they're like real minis. They're not like
Mhm.
pre-painted. I think
Oh wow.
they're actual like Warhammer minis, so you can kind of get it and paint it. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's kind of weird. It
Speaking
was
of
on an
things,
end cap. I was like in the toy section. I was
yeah.
like, so strange.
Speaking of toys that have or stores that have odd toys,
Mm.
are you losing any of your are you losing any of your big lots? Because I think we're losing our big lots.
Yes. Isn't
I th-
everybody losing their big lots?
well, no, they came to a deal where they were able to save a handful of stores. We
Mm-hmm.
have two stores here. We have one here in Cumberland, one in Frostburg.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been to the one in Frostburg in a long time, so I don't know what the status of that one is. But I'm almost 100% positive that we're losing the one in Cumberland, and that's a shame, to be perfectly honest, because that's a good store. I think that's a good store. I like going to that store.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but
Big Lots
are you,
are bee
mm,
sympathizers. That's probably why they're
mm.
going out of business. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe.
Are
I'm gonna
you are
say.
are you losing all of yours? Do you think you're going to maintain one up there?
I see. There's only one that's really convenient. I mean, Big Lots is not like a store that I go to a lot. Every
Right?
now and again, I'll stop in there if really like the only time that I've been in Big Lots recently was
The only time I've been in a big knot recently.
yeah, it was like right before Christmas because it was
Hmm.
it's like kind of just little
Yeah,
like crap
odds and ends,
stocking
right?
stuffer odds and
Hmm.
ends like whatever. So yeah, like that's really it. So I don't know.
Well,
There's a couple of others, but I don't probably if they stay doesn't matter
yeah.
to me.
Well, I mean, you know what's going to happen is that all the stuff from all the unsold stuff from Big Lots is going to go to Ollie's.
Oh man, Ollie's is just gonna be like a mass of just
Yeah.
crap, even like
Hmm.
double crap upon
Yeah.
crap.
They have all kinds of crap in. Oh my gosh.
Oh, man, there was something. Was it Ollie's? It was the same thing. I was in Ollie's like before Christmas, and I
Hmm.
swear there was something in Ollie's that I saw, and I thought, oh, I should tell Dan about this, but now I don't remember what it was.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. If it comes to me, I'll try and think of it. But yeah, there was definitely something that I saw that I was like, ooh,
Hmm.
Dan might be interested in that. But
Yeah.
that was like, what
That
is
was
it,
2 months ago.
January? That was
Yeah.
like, yeah, probably about 2 months ago. So
Hmm.
yeah, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no.
Yeah.
I'm
You
not.
don't remember what was 2 hours ago, probably.
Right,
So.
right. I do not. I do not. There's
Right.
a possibility. I'll go back through my photos because there's a possibility I just took a picture of it
Ah. Yeah.
and then just didn't send it to you or something like that. But I maybe not. I don't know.
Who
It might
knows?
be
Who
gone
knows?
gone forever. If I go back into Ollie's and I
You
notice
see it,
whatever it was,
right?
I'll probably see it and I'll be like,
Yeah, because
ooh,
I
ooh.
know it's probably gonna be there because
Right, right, because it's Ollie's and everything is
yeah,
just kind of still
thing
there.
things sit
Yeah.
in that for a long time, right?
Right, right. Whatever it was, though, it was definitely something that I wasn't super concerned about. Like, I gotta tell Dan right now.
That's funny.
For sure, for
That's
sure.
funny. Yeah.
Though, speaking of Big Lots, and yeah, this is for anybody that still has a Big Lots, and they're probably gone, but maybe right before Christmas when I was in Big Lots, and I this is something I did share with you guys in our private chat, was Big Lots got this shipment of instruments, like band instruments.
You I was in ours and ours did not. Yours it must have been
Really?
it must have been of certain stores, maybe stores in bigger markets
But
because ours did not get that.
ours got violins, trumpets, clarinets,
Wow.
and something else maybe. But yeah, I was like, and they were $50 a piece.
Wow. See, the
And
reason see I go
that's
into Big
nutty.
Lots.
Even if they're like the worst quality ever, like if you're
Mhm.
like trying to get your kid into like band or something, like instruments are fucking
Oh yeah.
expensive, man. So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, go at it. Look in your Big Lots and see
If they still have any.
if they
Yeah.
still have any instruments left, because
Because I'll tell you, see,
that's neat. That's like
the reason I go there
wild.
is because I can get my monk fruit sweetener pretty cheaply there.
Oh, you're right, right, yeah, yeah. Ours has kind of like a big
Mhm.
thing, kind of out in the middle,
Yeah.
with
Same here.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Same
set
here.
up now.
It has it has the kind of monk fruit sweetener that I like. And
Lakanto,
yeah, and I can get it
or isn't that's the one that
Lakanto.
I was using?
That's
Yeah,
that's the one I get.
right,
That's the one
right.
I get. Because 3 bags of that is $40 some online. Jesus Christ!
You're sitting
Like
here talking about artificial sweetener like an old man, and in
I
chat
know,
they're
I
talking
know.
about they're
They're talking
talking
about
about
bees.
they're talking about the the colon bees,
Mm.
bee amplifiers, call them bee blasters on the street, says Nathan. That that could mean so many other things.
I know. Was because I know there was a game that you missed, and I fell asleep during part of that game. Did the colon bees show up during the game that during the last TTRPG Tuesday?
I don't know.
I'm not
I checked
sure.
in with them for like a minute um
I don't know
on
because
that night.
Mhm.
Or no, I didn't. I was
No,
that
that
night
was
I
the
was
night that
just
you
that's
were
right.
passed
That
out.
that
Mhm.
night I was passed out. I was sick. You're right.
Mhm.
I don't know. Colon bees will eventually destroy the universe in their own arrogance, says Nathan.
Oh my.
I'm not sure if that's
'Cause
where the
yeah,
bees started or if the
I'm not
bees
either.
maybe started like in a game that we're not privy to. A secret
Possibly
game,
so. Possibly so.
you know.
Well, maybe I'll just have to show up on Tuesday night, spend a couple bucks, and introduce your puppet to colon bees.
Ah, thanks. Thanks for that. That'll be great.
Who knows? Yeah.
That'll be great. That'll
Well,
be great.
I made you the puppet to begin with, so.
It's true. That's true.
Mhm.
And hey, maybe if one of the folks from over there at Country Fried Minis comes in and plays in our Mega Dungeon game on Wednesday, which I have given a little bit of an open invitation for. Um, you never know if there'll be colon bees in the dungeon.
Yep.
Could happen. Could
Oh
happen.
my God.
Water
You know,
colon bees because it is a water dungeon. Can you imagine that?
you know, you've been talking on Up and Away
Colon bee.
to 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 Cameron and Garrett about upping their spells. Do either of them have swarm?
What?
You've been talking to Garrett and Cameron about upping their about
Insect
researching spells.
swarm. We know, yeah. Gothic says insect swarm already.
Oh, that's right.
Don't you
Oh,
remember in
he
the
does.
hangar
He does
there
have insect
was
swarm.
because there was a question
Oh my
about like
God.
what the hell is this weird little bug thing, and it was his
So
insect swarm that was like
so
crawling
Cameron,
around the spaceport.
if you're listening, Cameron, our Cameron, the next time you cast that, colon bees.
I mean, they have to be like somewhere in the area.
Well, maybe they're in somebody's colon.
It depends. I am probably gonna have to get a detailed ecology of the colon bee to understand that
Yeah.
before
hmm
I can make the determination as a serious dungeon master.
Should we call this stream? Should we rename this stream Dungeons, Discourse, and colon
Maybe,
bee?
maybe it could possibly that could be a thing. Yeah. It is
Yep.
exactly what you think
hmm
it is. It's
hmm
as far as I understand it. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's not
Yeah.
great. Well, Dungeon Dan,
Yeah. DM Steve.
what do you think? Is there anything else um
I think we've
that we need to cover?
I think we've exhausted um we've at least exhausted a few people out there.
Right. I think I've exhausted myself. Hammer fights.
Ah.
Um uh Like with actual hammers? Because that,
Or is it hammer fights between the colon bees? Do all the colon bees have hammers?
or is it like MC Hammer? Like,
You
can't
know,
touch this.
that that is the worst MC Hammer I have ever seen.
I'm very white, in case you didn't notice. So that's the best I got. Uh,
Oh
Fighting
my.
with hammers, actual hammers. Um, yeah, I mean, that could be a thing, I guess, if you're into you know, getting hit with hammers.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly into getting hit with hammers, so I'll probably say nuh to that,
Mhm.
um, because no hammer fights for me.
Nah.
And with that, yeah, nuh-uh. With that, I think we might want to wrap things up. I don't
Yeah.
really have anything else to talk about.
Yeah,
I'm getting
I don't.
hungry. I'm
Mhm.
getting tired. My eyes are dry. I probably have to take a.
And he's the one calling me old. Talking
I've
about my
been
artificial
coughing.
sweetener.
My coffee's like I'm out of my DS9 mug is
Yeah.
out of coffee. This DS9 mug is cool. When you put hot liquid into it, the wormhole like appears over
Oh,
here.
very neat. Very
So
neat. That's kind of
it's kind
cool.
of neat. Yeah.
I got a brand new I got another tumbler. So,
Nice. Country Fried Mini says I'm drinking coffee too. I took a nap before this stream. My sleep is still like goofed. Like I fall asleep really early. Like
mhm.
I've been falling asleep the last couple nights like really early, like 10 or 11,
Mhm.
which is early for me, like really early. But then I'll like wake up at like 5 in the morning, which is way early. And then I'll be
Way
like
early.
and then I'll be like tired, so then at some point during the day, like I'll have to take a nap.
Huh, craziness.
It's just
Yeah.
yeah, go drink your Ovaltine before bed, old man. Uh,
Ma- you
Cameron,
know,
Ovaltine was for kids.
yeah, it was. It was a chocolate drink for kids.
Yeah, it was like gritty yoo-hoo.
Mhm. Speaking of coffee though, I got myself a Christmas gift. I got myself an AeroPress.
An AeroPress.
Yeah, I got
Is that
myself
the
an AeroPress.
manual one that I used to
Yeah,
have?
yeah, that's the manual one that you push down. Oh man,
Right.
man, I
That's
gotta
nice.
I gotta tell you. I mean, I just bought like the basic one. You know what I mean? But boy, oh boy, I really like my AeroPress.
Nathan says, "Did you drink methyl ethyl keystones?" Methyl ethyl keystones?
I
I don't know what that is.
no,
I don't know.
don't know what it is.
I don't know. I'm in the Keystone State, but you know,
Yeah, I have
other
no
than
idea
that,
what that is. Mech.
Mac, methyl ethyl keystone. I'm
Is
sure.
that is that like a mecha like a high mecha hiney ho? I if you know that,
Gombi
if you know where that comes from,
ketones.
ketones.
Um, is that like what is keto thing? Is that like a keto diet thing? That is that what that is? When you're only eating the meat, like you're strictly just like taking that meat every day. Um, I guess. I don't know. Or paint stripper. One or the other. I don't know.
Um
I'm not a
Yeah,
painter or a
no, no,
dietitian, so
that's exactly what it is. It's an
paint stripper.
it's organic compound used as a solvent and in making plastics, textiles, and paints.
Ah, then I didn't
Yeah.
drink any of that.
No.
I definitely did not. Yeah, no, I'm not a painter, um, not a dietitian, so
I don't think dietitians are gonna be. I'm not a di- I'm not a dietitian, but I play one on YouTube, and
I told you I'm tired. My eyes are dry. I can like barely read the chat. My eyes are real dry. I need to get like a drink. You know what I mean? Not that kind of drink.
yeah,
Just
yeah. I
liquid.
understand. Yeah,
Yeah,
some kind of
yeah.
water.
Put some eye
Yeah.
drops in.
Hmm.
Oh man, it's just everything is
Yeah.
just a living hell. You know how that
There it
works.
is. Yeah, but I think
Right,
that
right.
might be it.
Oh, that's why I don't have any superpowers. Once when I was 18, actually like right around the same time as I was starting up the group, I worked at a bucket factory, factory printing buckets. And there were all kinds of carcinogenic uh solvents and things
Oh God,
in
yeah.
the
Oh yeah, that place is
in that
terrible.
bucket
Hmm.
factory. I only worked there for like 2 months because I got a job working there. It was incredibly tedious, and I got laid off because of like lack of work.
Hmm.
And then by the time they called me back, I was already working at the comic shop,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Hell no, I ain't going back to that bucket factory."
But speaking of superpowers, though, you have flown. You flew,
I
you flew once. If only for like 10 seconds.
Oh, I've been flying,
Remember when I
I flew.
launched you off the porch?
Yeah, 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 and I hit my head.
Yeah.
Landed on my head. Explains a lot.
Yep.
Explains very much. So I
Hmm.
did that instead of drinking mech, and that's where all my powers came
Mm.
from.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm like, as we talk, my nose
Yeah, I can hear it. I can hear it. It's
is
happening.
like getting like stuffier and stuffier. So I definitely think yeah, I definitely think that this is a good place to maybe say goodbye to
I
all
think
our
it's yeah.
family.
I think it's a good place
DIX,
to start saying goodbye.
INT,
I'm doing an impression.
HEDARK.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dicks in the dark. Dicks in the dark. Colon bees. Sorry.
Hi, I'm DM Steve, and
Hi, I'm DM Steve.
I'm DM
Smash that
Steve.
like button.
Yep. I'm Dungeon Dan, and
Yes.
yeah, no.
Um. Yeah. 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 So
But yeah, do like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the YouTube things, and we will see you next time.
next time, goodbye. Oh wait, not that one.
You know what we need to do?
What do we need to do?
We need to figure out the next time we do one of these shows and we put a video up,
Yeah.
we need to figure out how to put it in the TV.